Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel and welcome back to another Planet Coaster video. So I know it's been a long time since I've uploaded. I think it's been maybe 5 months or 6 months. I'm so sorry. But don't fret, I have been working diligently behind the scenes on all my parks, especially Lunarworld. I have made so much progress and I'm really excited to show off what I've completed so far. There's a lot for me to update you on. I'm really excited. This is going to be a really cool episode, so strap in and enjoy the show, I guess. So the two things I want to cover today are the Rapids ride that I've completed, and then my RMC, which I also completed theming on. And this pretty much closes off Discovery Mountain, the Discovery Mountain portion of Lunar World. So we're off to new horizons after this, but figured today would be great to just show off these last two things, and then hopefully in the next episode we will move on to newer stuff. So I will get into all of that as we get going. But yeah, so I guess let's just get started. So the first thing I wanted to go over was the Rapids ride. And there's a couple things I wanted to say about this ride. So first off, I had originally no plans to add a Rapids ride into my park. It kind of just came about because I was looking at the lineup of my rides and I noticed I was kind of lacking some water rides, and water rides are extremely popular at theme parks, and I was like, you know what, I think a Rapids ride would be really cool. I've never done one in Planet Coaster, so I decided to just go along with it. So I think in the last episode I might have hinted at this was what we are going to move on to next, but I have now completed it and everything is pretty much in place. So that's one thing. The other thing is the theme is really, it's sort of themed off of like an aqueduct or a water treatment plant more specifically. The ride is called the Aquarius Aqueduct. So I guess the overarching theme is we're in a you're kind of taking a boat tour through like the Lunarworld water treatment plant, and you, at the end of the ride, spoiler alert, you go down the aqueduct that would serve the entirety of Lunarworld, I suppose. So it's more of like the city needs water, and this is how water is being transported to the city. I figured it kind of works with sort of a Victorian steampunk alpine sort of theme, I suppose. Once you sort of see the ride, you'll get more of the vibe. But yeah, so I guess we'll get one last thing. The ride is also based on the Intamin newer generation of Rapids rides. For example, I think Infinity Falls in SeaWorld Orlando is a great example of their kind of newer generation. The drops seem really high. The rapids are really intense too. The boats in Planet Coaster are a little bit bigger than I would have wanted. I wanted things maybe a little bit smaller, but you know, we get what we get. We have limitations of this game, but yeah. So let's get on with, I guess, the layout. I'll show you around, and we'll get to know the ride a little bit more, I suppose. So the first thing we are starting in is obviously the station. The station is sort of a multi-layered building. The bottom layer is where you board the boats. This is kind of where your quote-unquote boat tour of the water treatment plant will start. Right above that we have a little food court, and then above that we have the train station. And this building kind of has a multi-purpose sort of thing. It acts as like an entrance to the park. We'll get into that another time. But after you board your boat, you take a quick right turn and you go through sort of like the main, I guess you could say, water treatment facility theming. We have a lot of like tanks here and little knobs and dials, and think of these as like big water tanks. There's like steam and pipes going everywhere and gears, and there's some bridges up above, and the train actually runs through this area as well. So there's kind of a lot going on, and so you make this right. Eventually you end up going up your first lift hill, and this is where you kind of break through into the mountain. This is where the water, I guess, is essentially being pumped up, so it can be after it's been treated, it can be transported out to the public. And so you're going up this lift hill. There's lots of interactions going on here. There's gears. There's you obviously have another portion of the rapids ride running over it, and it's just kind of like a generic sort of cave theme. Once you're done with that, you are at the top and you make a little swoosh around with some kind of building up momentum rapids as you're kind of swooshing around. I wanted to make this area sort of like nature, alpine theme, so that's kind of the generic theming I wanted over here. Eventually you kind of wrap your way around the building, and there's a lot going on here. I built sort of like a covering, and then right below it you have the RMC coaster that wraps up and around it. It actually loops, the RMC coaster loops around the building or mountain, actually goes inside the building and then out around the mountain a bunch of times, so there's a lot of interaction going on here. Eventually you make it back inside, and then you go over a bridge back inside, you know, our little cave here. Again, so many interactions going on. You have the RMC coaster running through. There's a lot going on here. I really like this sort of cave theme. It sort of mixes up the water treatment plant with the cave. I think it's really cool. Eventually you go down a little bit of a hill here and you reach an outside section. This outside section is more or less just a way for boats to queue up for the second lift hill. The theming is very generic out here, just some wood buildings, and we obviously have the RMC coasters swooshing around here, so you know, just some interaction with that as well. And then you make your way up the second lift hill. The second lift hill, you go back into the water treatment facility, and then you make your way up the mountain through sort of this little cave here, and then we are out to the finale, and that is going down the biggest aqueduct that the main aqueduct essentially that is serving all of Lunarworld. And yeah, so the aqueduct sort of theme came out of if you've ever been to LA. I used to live up there, around that area. There is a huge cascade, and it's part of the Los Angeles basin, or that's how they kind of transport their water from up north to serve all of the city of LA. Has this big like cascade waterfall thing, and I saw that one day and I was like, that'd be really cool if it's like a water ride. So that's kind of what I'm doing here. And I don't want to rant too much about aqueducts, but you know, and it also came from like ancient Rome, and their sort of aqueducts transporting water to the you know, wherever their civilization was. So it all comes with that, and that's you know, that's mainly what was inspiring me. Eventually you make your way at the bottom, you do the big splash. I needed a really long section of splashway for this because it was a huge drop. In fact, I measured the drop. I think it's actually higher than Infinity Falls. I don't really know. So it might be technically the biggest water drop in all of like the theme park industry, but you know, I'm not really focused on that. And then you make your way around, and then you actually go under the sort of, I forget what it's called, like the claw ride. I have a name and a theme for that, and we'll get into that hopefully later. But yeah, we go under and through it. We actually go under the RMC coaster as well, and we enter into this huge underground or under structure, you know, where the water treatment facility is sort of has an extension. You have a bunch of rocks and water spouts and little chutes that are cracking and water spilling all over you. So this is kind of a great place to get even more wet if you haven't gotten already super wet during the final splash. And then again, if you're not wet enough, there's one last little splash down that you kind of descend down so you can be more level with the station, and that's your ride. So this ride was extremely difficult because the theming was so immaculate in a lot of different spots, and I started trying to tie in everything and make sure it sort of worked with Discovery Mountain and, like I said earlier, the steampunk stuff. So overall it was kind of a challenge, and I really was struggling to like break it up into episodes. That's why I'm doing it now, because I just wanted to complete it and sort of show you everything that sort of is going on here, and make it it was hard to like break up and decide to like make a video. So anyways, I think one of my favorite things about this ride is how much it interacts with everything else. You have interactions with the train, like I mentioned before. You have interactions with the RMC coaster, even the B&M coaster that is I need to figure out. But yeah, so I think I also really like the sort of water towers that I put on top. In fact, I added the water tower that spills at certain moments, so and it spills on the guests. So if you're lucky and you're going down the aqueduct at a certain time, you'll be spilled on by this water tower. But yeah, I don't know. So like this is the water supply for Lunarworld, and I think it fits with like the steampunk Victorian alpine hybrid of a lot of different things. So I hope you guys enjoy it. I really had a lot of fun building this. It took a lot of creativity. Now let's move on to Jupiter Express. That is what I decided to name my RMC coaster. And yeah, just I have covered this ride many times in previous episodes, but just as kind of like a quick background, this is it's just a generic RMC that has the big steel sort of arch structure like you see on what is it? It's the one in Poland. I forget the name. You'll have to tell me in the comments. And then Iron Gwazi as well has the same sort of structure. But this is like the main attraction for the park. So the ride is supposed to be like the ride is supposed to be just thrills and speed. There's no like really deep theme. So the theming is it's a little bit of a stretch. I had a really hard time figuring out what I was going to do here, but essentially so right off to the right you have the Castle of Glass, and part of the lore of the Castle of Glass, it's owned by a very wealthy professor. His name is Professor Ludwig, and he bought this real estate, and right next door was this like ancient ruins. But Professor Ludwig really wanted to build his Jupiter Express, which is think of it as a Victorian sort of invention, or Victorian age bullet train. So that's why we go up super, super high, and then we drop, and it's supposed to like be rapid transit for the time, so it's supposed to be like rapid transit around Lunarworld. And he really wanted to build this, but he had this temple in the way, so he decided to turn the temple into like a train station. So that's kind of what you're getting at. I wanted something quirky and weird and interesting, so I thought like building this random temple here would make sense. Think of it as like sort of like I don't know. It's just a generic temple. I don't want to base it off of any specific Native American culture, but yeah, that that's kind of where we are. Actually, Discovery Mountain is supposed to be like kind of like a North American age of invention. It's a lot of areas are based off of like San Francisco, so I guess it kind of fits, but it's just a generic temple. But there's a lot of and they've kind of reinforced structure, so they've added some pillars here, some steel and some piping. But yeah, so this coaster also just like swooshes around and goes through in and out of the mountain, and the main theme of this ride is it just interacts with literally every portion of the park. So it's not, I don't want it to tie it to one theme, but if you look at this temple from a distance, I think it really helps the skyline. It looks super cool. So I'm proud of it. I threw it together and I'm happy about it. Yeah, I think my favorite thing about this ride is just how good it looks. Like, it feels just so eclectic and so smooth, and I love it so much. I don't know if I showed this in my last episode. I might have, I'm not sure. if you've already seen it, oh well, I want to show it off again. I set up a lighting system here, so the drop actually changes lights, or the lights change colors throughout the night, so you get this sort of like ombre of colors. And you know, this drop-in tower is just like so amazing. I'm so happy with it. I'm so proud of myself for doing this. So yeah, so that about does it. Thank you for sticking around, and hopefully my explanation of everything makes sense, and and this park is sort of interesting to you. The theming, and I know, is kind of a stretch, but Discovery Mountain was like a really big push for me. This is really what started my channel, so I'm really happy to be kind of finished with it. So yeah, what's next? What's next is we're going to be moving on to the steampunk part of the park, which doesn't have a specific name yet. We have this big open land here with a lot of empty spots and plots of land where we can do whatever we want. So yeah, I need to do a little bit more research and figure out like what kind of steampunk I really wanted to do here, but we'll get into that. But yeah, so hope you guys enjoyed the video. Like and subscribe. There will be more Lunarworld updates to come. I'm so sorry again for not uploading. I'm going to try and upload a little bit more frequently, hopefully. I have some Knott's Berry Farm stuff coming up as well, so stay tuned for that. But yeah, so anyways, hope you guys enjoy, and go ahead and enjoy some B-roll, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye guys.